At 3:14 a.m., the Persian Gulf erupted. A massive underwater charge detonated on the ocean floor and sent a shockwave racing through the water at 1,500 meters per second. It slammed straight into the keel of a modern American warship. The steel spine of the vessel bent like a twig. Power failed instantly. Alarms screamed through the darkness, while the hull groaned under the strain. The attackers thought they had crippled the beast. Instead, they had just awakened the most lethal networked killing system the United States Navy has ever deployed. Operation Praying Mantis 2.0 had begun. What began as a missile attack would soon spiral into a digital nightmare in which Iranian systems started turning against one another. Imagine standing on the bridge of that damaged destroyer in the pitch black. The ship is wounded but far from dead. The USS Jack H. Lucas was still alive but barely. Sections of the hull were flooding emergency lights, flickered across smoke-filled corridors, and parts of the radar grid were failing one by one. 50 nautical miles away, the USS New Jersey, a Virginia-class Block 5 submarine, glides silently beneath the surface. It releases a specialized unmanned underwater vehicle that slips toward the seabed and severs the single fiber optic cable linking the Iranian Sasson oil rig to the mainland. In seconds, the rig becomes a digital island blind, silent and completely isolated from Iranian command. The trap is already closing. At 3:25 a.m., the damaged USS Jack H. Lucas begins its fight back. Even with a bent keel and failing power, the ship's emergency beacon reaches the Star Shield satellite constellation in low Earth orbit. Within moments, a space-based data link is established. The destroyer can now receive targeting data for its Tomahawk missiles, even before its own Aegis system fully reboots. The captain makes a bold decision. He keeps the Spy 6 radar active, but pulsing weakly and intermittently. On Iranian screens, the signal looks like a wounded giant gasping for air. It is a deliberate lure, a digital siren song meant to draw Iranian forces out into the open. 150 nautical miles over the horizon, the USS Abraham Lincoln has been on full combat alert for 48 hours. The carrier is the brain of the entire network. The Lucas is the forward fist. Together they form a single integrated kill chain that Iran has never faced before. At 3:43 a.m., the trap springs. Deceived by the Lucas radar decoy, Iranian commanders unleash hundreds of Shahed-class suicide drones and explosive unmanned surface vessels. These low-value targets flood the radar picture and create a chaotic electronic storm. Hidden inside that storm, a single Khalij-Fars anti-ship cruise missile skims the waves using the drone swarm as cover. At 3:48 a.m., the Aegis Baseline 10 system with its deep learning AI takes full control. In seconds, the Navy handed key firing decisions to autonomous combat algorithms, capable of reacting faster than any human crew ever could. In just 1/10 of a second, the algorithm cross-checks every contact against millions of known flight profiles. It discards the decoys and locks onto the single real threat. SM-2 missiles ripple from the vertical launch cells and shred the drone swarm like a kinetic broom. An SM-6 races out and destroys the cruise missile 5 miles from the ship in a massive fireball that lights up the night. The swarm is broken, but Iran escalates again. At 4:03 a.m., 2 Khalij-Fars hypersonic missiles streak toward the Lucas at more than Mach 3. The first detonates high in the atmosphere to create an electromagnetic pulse. The second dives into the resulting blind spot at over 1,000 meters per second. The Lucas is momentarily blind, but it is not fighting alone. 30,000 feet above, an F-35C Lightning II flying off the Abraham Lincoln maintains a constant track through its EOTS sensors while being refueled by an MQ-25 Stingray. Through the MADL link, the F-35 passes fire control quality data to the carrier. The carrier's computers instantly route the solution to the Lucas via the Cooperative Engagement Capability Network. Every second now mattered. Once the Iranian hypersonic missiles crossed the final engagement envelope, there would be almost no time left to save the ship. At 4:15 a.m., the Lucas fires an SM-6 into empty sky with no radar contact of its own. The missile, guided entirely by the F-35's remote eyes, intercepts the hypersonic threat 40 miles from the ship. A stealth aircraft has just killed a hypersonic missile the destroyer never even saw. But the most shocking part of the battle had not happened yet. The fight shifts into electronic warfare. Iran switches its drone swarms to fully autonomous mode, cutting all radio links so traditional jamming becomes useless. Coastal electronic warfare units try to home in on American emissions. An EA-18G Growler from the Lincoln's Air Wing answers with a high-risk cyber maneuver. Using the next generation, Jammer, it injects self-replicating malware directly into the drone's visual processing chips. In microseconds, the drone's computer vision is rewritten. They suddenly see the calm sea as a high-value American warship, while the real USS Jack H Lucas disappears from their sensors. At 4:32 a.m., the swarm turns on itself. Drones slam into each other at 200 miles per hour, or plunge straight into the Gulf, exploding in chains of fireballs. No American kinetic weapon is fired. The enemy's own autonomous swarm becomes its own graveyard. At 4:40 a.m., the final phase, the Alpha Strike, begins. Iranian surface ships attempt to hide among civilian oil tankers and deploy chaff clouds to confuse radar. From the Abraham Lincoln, the order is given. A squadron of F-35Cs streaks in from the south, carrying AGM-158 LRASM missiles. These stealthy, semi-autonomous weapons do not rely on GPS or active radar. At the same time, the USS New Jersey launches Tomahawk Block-V missiles from deep underwater against Iranian S-300 coastal batteries, forcing those radars to turn away and creating a safe corridor. The LRASMs communicate with each other through secure data links like a wolf pack. They use automatic target recognition to identify every Iranian warship while completely ignoring the civilian tankers. Missiles 1 and 2 strike the flagship at shallow angles, vaporizing its radar masts and communications arrays. Missile 3 climbs, then plunges vertically through the deck armor and detonates inside the engine room. The flagship is torn apart from within before a single radar warning sounds. By 5 a.m., the last desperate Iranian fast attack craft charges at 45 knots and fires unguided rockets at the Lucas. The destroyer shifts power to its directed energy weapons. The 60-kilowatt Helios laser turret swings and locks on. Within 5 seconds, the steel of the enemy's rocket launcher glows white-hot. The solid fuel ignites internally, and the craft is incinerated by its own weapons before it can close to 3 miles. The final kinetic threat is gone without a single gun being fired in reply. The battle ends not with explosions, but with code. Iranian ships that survive the kinetic strikes suddenly lose cooling control. Malware injected earlier turns their own engine and ammunition heat against them. In the 50-degree Gulf heat, the closed-loop cooling systems fail. Ammunition compartments overheat and detonate from within, No external fire, no radar contact, just ships tearing themselves apart from a single line of hijacked software. In 2026, the most devastating weapon is no longer a warhead. It is a command sent from halfway around the world. What do you think after hearing this timeline of the engagement? Do you believe the combination of space-based links, AI-driven Aegis-directed energy weapons, and cyber attacks gave the United States an overwhelming advantage that Iran could never overcome? Or do you think Iran came closer to success than the official accounts suggest? Write your thoughts in the comments. Should we break down the technical details of the LRASM Wolfpack tactics and the Helios laser engagement next? Or examine how this kind of networked warfare could reshape future confrontations in the Strait of Hormuz and beyond? Your opinions help shape what we cover next. The Persian Gulf has just witnessed something entirely new. An underwater explosion meant to cripple one ship instead triggered a perfectly coordinated response that fused satellites, submarines, stealth fighters, artificial intelligence, directed energy weapons, and cyber warfare into a single lethal system. Iran threw everything it had, from hypersonic missiles to autonomous drone swarms to electronic warfare, yet every layer of its attack is systematically dismantled. The USS Jack H. Lucas survived a direct hit to its keel, fought while damaged, and helped destroy an entire Iranian surface action group without ever needing to rely solely on its own sensors. The Abraham Lincoln never fired a shot in anger, yet its network decided the outcome of the battle. This was not a simple exchange of missiles. It was a demonstration that in 2026, naval warfare has become a contest of information speed and integration. The side that can see first, decide first, and strike first wins before the enemy even understands what is happening. Iran learned that lesson in the most brutal way possible. The United States Navy showed that its kill chain now extends from the ocean floor to low Earth orbit and back again in seconds. The Persian Gulf may have witnessed something historic that night, the possible beginning of the world's first fully networked AI naval war. The pressure cooker of the Persian Gulf just got a whole lot hotter, and the world is watching to see what happens when the next fuse is lit. Looking ahead, the implications of this engagement are chilling. We are moving toward a zero human latency battlefield. By 2027, expect the US to deploy Aegis Baseline 11, where AI won't just suggest targets. Nations will likely grant it pre-authorized lethal autonomy to counter hypersonic threats that move too fast for human thought. For Iran and other regional powers, the era of using asymmetric swarms to overwhelm a carrier strike group is over. If you can't win the algorithm war, your fleet is nothing more than expensive scrap metal waiting for a software command to self-destruct. The Strait of Hormuz is no longer a geographical chokepoint. It has become a digital kill box where the first shot fired is a line of code, not a torpedo. The 46-minute annihilation of the Iranian fleet wasn't just a victory, it was a global message. The USS Jack H. Lucas proved that a wounded Titan backed by a space-based neural network is more dangerous than 1,000 dumb missiles. We have witnessed the birth of the world's first fully integrated AI naval war, a conflict where the victor remains invisible and the loser incinerates from within. The Persian Gulf may be calm now, but the fundamental nature of war has been rewritten forever. The question isn't if this will happen again, but who will be brave or foolish enough to challenge the invisible supremacy of the American digital shield. Was this a demonstration of absolute security, or have we opened a Pandora's box by giving AI control over life and death? At sea. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one. If you want to stay ahead of the curve on the weapons and strategies reshaping our world, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. We are diving deep into the LRASM Wolfpack tactics and the Helios laser's molecular breakdown in our next breakdown. You don't want to miss it.